up guys, it's Elle and welcome to my planet, and today I have a really special topic for you guys. Now, as you guys might know if you've been following me on Instagram or even Twitter, especially Snapchat actually, you'll kinda know that I've been to Tokyo for the holidays. Now I'm back in Manila. Based on what my family noticed, Philippines has these things called travel trends. A few years back, the travel trend was South Korea, and recently the travel trend in the Philippines was Japan. Because I was given the opportunity to visit Seoul back in 2014, I was able to kind of differentiate with my family the differences that I have seen. Tokyo and Seoul are really different. If you guys might think that they're the same, they're absolutely not. This video isn't about saying who's a better city or anything. It's just showing the differences between the two megacities and how it has an impact on me as a Filipino, or how it has affected me as a Filipino. Because I noticed a lot of vlogs online and a lot of video blogs talking about the two cities in general are mostly from the western side, and honestly speaking, if you're traveling, you won't really get the same reception if you're from Southeast Asia. If you're a Filipino and you visit Tokyo or Seoul, you will say that the prices are really expensive. However, if you've lived abroad for a couple of years, or if you currently live in the States, you wouldn't really say that Tokyo is an expensive place, or either Seoul. Before anything else, I must say that I visited Seoul and Tokyo in different times. I visited Seoul during summer, I believe. I visited Tokyo during the winter, so there might be big differences in that, as well as the length of my stay. So I stayed in Seoul for 4 days, and I've stayed in Tokyo for 9 days, which may have big impacts on how I see both cities. To start off, I'll be talking about the hotels, or accommodation. Honestly speaking, we were planning to visit the States, Tokyo, or maybe even Seoul. And when we were checking hotel prices, Seoul was much cheaper than Tokyo. Our stay in Tokyo for 9 days took us approximately $1,000, and a bit higher than that obviously. If you look at Seoul, you could get a 4 to 5 star hotel with about that much money already. But in Tokyo, we just stayed in an Airbnb, a quaint apartment in the Teito area. There's nothing wrong with it. I enjoyed living in the community. It made me feel like I was a part of Tokyo. However, it is pretty pricey. If you're looking for a family room for 4, Tokyo has that, okay? But then it's gonna get really pricey. So if you're looking for a bang for your buck, I'd have to say that Seoul is much cheaper. Next on my list is transportation. I have to say, hands down, transportation in Seoul is much easier. The Seoul Metro could bring you anywhere, and there's this whole system that seems like it's one, including the buses and the taxis. All you needed in Seoul was a single app called Jihacheul. Everything is written there for you. But in Tokyo, it took us a really hard time to get around with an app. Just let it go and just start using Google Maps instead. And I highly suggest that you guys do the same if ever you're in Tokyo. Best way to do that is either you get a SIM with 3G to 4G or LTE, or get pocket Wi-Fi. However, I must say that Tokyo's subway, well not subway, but their whole transport system, that's including the JR lines, the subway, the Shinkansen or whatnot, are really extensive, and they get you everywhere. But the problem is, if you're a tourist and you don't really know how to get there, it's really difficult for you to get around in comparison to Korea. Next, tourist attractions. Now, the best thing to describe about Seoul is it's a perfect mix of today and yesterday. Yesterday meaning a long time ago, okay? If you're looking for historical sites, there are a bunch in Seoul. You can easily get to Gyeongbokgung, and then on the side, you can easily see the Cheonggyecheon in front of Gyeongbokgung, and on the side of Cheonggyecheon, you can see the Gwanghwamun Square, which has a museum of King Sejong under his monument. I don't know if I made sense, but then everything there is literally so near to each other, and they're all a mixture of modern and olden times, and I found that really cool. When you look at Japan, on the other hand, they do have historical sites like Meiji Jingu or the Imperial Palace, but they aren't really close to each other, and most of the tourist attractions that you get to see are mostly modern, like the Tokyo Skytree or the Tokyo Tower itself. What's cool about Tokyo though is that when you go around, all of a sudden you see this old looking building that's still pretty fine and functional. But apparently it's been there for ages already. My family and I visited Ginza, and we saw this tower on the left. Well, not a tower, it was a small building. It seemed pretty old compared to the rest of the buildings there in Ginza. But I did a little research online, and apparently it's one of the oldest buildings there, and that surprised me. Let's segue over to the theme parks. Seoul has Lotte World, and they also have Everland on the outskirts of the city. In Tokyo, they obviously have Disneyland and a bunch of other local theme parks. I have to say that whenever there's a Disneyland, never ever miss the opportunity to visit unless you're really tired of Disneyland, because if you've been to one, you've been to them all, honestly speaking. Now, the reason we went to Tokyo Disneyland is because we learned that there are other attractions there that you can't find in the States, or any other Disney park, as well as the food. The food in Tokyo Disneyland is hands down amazing. Like, we've never tasted it in any other Disney park before. If you go to Seoul, I couldn't say much about Everland because I haven't been there, but I have heard a lot of good stuff about Everland. But Lotte World, on the other hand, it is pretty small. That's only downside of it. If you're a fan of big theme parks which you roam around for hours and hours and hours, Lotte World isn't the theme park for you. However, what's cool about Lotte World is that it's part indoor. There's a part there that's outside and there's a part that's inside. If it rains or if it's super freezing outside or if it's super hot outside, you have the option to go inside and still enjoy a bunch of awesome rides. Next, food. I mentioned food in Tokyo Disneyland, but this is gonna speak about the whole Tokyo itself. If you look at the prices in decent restaurants, it's honestly similar to the prices in the States. When it comes to quality though, Tokyo has so far been the best country ever when it comes to food. Everywhere I go, the food is extremely good. The katsu was perfect, the curry perfect. I visited Koko Curry and Tongasu Wako, and there was this ramen place that we tried in Akihabara that was amazing. When it comes to street food, I rarely saw street food in Tokyo. The closest thing I saw to street food was this food truck that passed by our neighborhood, and it's in a specific location. By the morning, it will be gone already. Like, as in, it'll seem like nothing was there. And that was just one takoyaki food truck. In comparison to Seoul, I did see a lot of street food. Now, when it comes to typical food restaurants in Seoul, yes, they are cheaper. As much as I love Korean food and K-pop, as you can see at the back, I prefer the food I ate in Japan. There are a bunch of themed cafes in Tokyo. You can visit maid cafes, butler cafes, and it's just literally everywhere. As in, you can find a Final Fantasy cafe, a Gundam cafe if you're fans of that. Now, that's what I really find cool in Tokyo. The next topic, some people might get offended, but I repeat, I wish not to offend anyone here. I'm just stating my experience. In Tokyo, when it comes to touristy things like asking them where this location is, the people in Tokyo are much more approachable when it comes to touristy things. They literally help you every step of the way, and you can see the look in their eyes that they really want to help you even if they can't really speak English. There was this time we were in the train and we didn't know where to go, so we asked a random stranger where the location was, and he was like, oh, it's over here, blah blah blah, and like that. Whereas in Seoul, we did have an experience where we had to ask a person a certain something, but they gave us this X sign over here. Whatever nationality you are and you see this sign in Seoul, don't take it as an offensive thing. It just means that they can't really express or understand what you're trying to say. In Tokyo, we really didn't have that much problems with those touristy kind of things. We did have problems with asking for photos. In Seoul, it seemed to me that a lot of people took a lot of pictures. Everywhere you could see groups doing like this, or like this, or like this. In Tokyo, I didn't really see that much. In Seoul, we would just approach anyone and we would ask for a picture and they'd understand that they'd take an awesome picture for us. In Tokyo, it really took us a hard time to find someone to take a family picture for us. However, when it comes to the everyday people, a lot of people in Tokyo in comparison to Seoul seemed like they were really in a rush and were rushing to get home or to their job. There were times in the subway when we were trying to walk around or get somewhere, even on the streets, people were pushing us around, like literally pushing us with their hands like this in order to get where they're going. I couldn't say that my perception of this in comparison to Seoul is equal since I only stayed in Seoul for 4 days, but it seems really prevalent in comparison to Korea. Now, here, this is the part where it might affect you as a Filipino. In Seoul, you will get stares, you will get glances from Koreans. In comparison to Tokyo, where they just give you glances, and sometimes people do look, but not as long or not as intimidating as those in Seoul. Filipinos kinda have a bad reputation in South Korea because of a lot of killings that have been happening here in the Philippines. I have to say, I'm really sorry for those things if you're a Korean watching. This isn't the right video to say it, but then I just had to put it in because it's kind of related to the topic. Next is pop culture. This is a very important topic on this video. Both South Korea and Japan have different exports when it comes to pop culture. Obviously, in South Korea, they export K-pop and K-dramas. K-pop is everywhere in South Korea. When you listen to music in a shop that's being played, everything you hear is K-pop. You rarely hear Western music. In comparison to Tokyo, where you could hear a mixture of Japanese, K-pop, and Western music as well. In Tokyo, you will notice that J-pop doesn't really take the pedestal. You will notice though that anime is the #1 thing over there. The best place to go in Tokyo if you really want to experience pop culture is Harajuku. We saw a bunch of people cosplaying when we were there, and it just was so amazing to me. Japanese pop culture is really extraordinary, it's really unique. It's not something that you'd always see on an everyday basis. I have been watching a lot of anime recently, and the best place to go is Akihabara. But then when it comes to everyday street life, the best place to go is Shibuya. Shibuya is really near to Harajuku, so you wouldn't really have a hard time getting there if you're planning your trip, okay? last on the list is Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi connectivity in Seoul is literally everywhere. You can find it in the streets, you can find it in the shops, you can find it in the metros. When it comes to traveling around, you wouldn't really need it in comparison to Tokyo. The apartment we rented out in Tokyo provided us with a pocket Wi-Fi that we could use anywhere. Now, that was a benefit for us, which is why you guys might want to try Airbnb and looking for an Airbnb with a pocket Wi-Fi if ever you visit Tokyo. And I'll tell you why. Instead of using a bunch of apps, you could just go directly to Google Maps and type in where you want to go and where your current location. And it could show you whatever lines you could take, or if you could walk, or if you could take a taxi. Plus, a bunch of people in Tokyo can't speak as much English in comparison to Seoul. I can't say that the whole Seoul could speak English really well, but then to some extent, a lot of people in Seoul can kind of comprehend what you're saying in English in comparison to Tokyo, where you kind of have to show pictures, kind of have to do gestures and stuff like that. Seoul and Tokyo are both amazing and beautiful cities. They both have so much to offer. Now, to those people living in Seoul and Tokyo, I know that there are some stuff here that I said that might not seem right to you, but these are just based on my observations, once again, and my family's observations. And I'm sorry if I've offended you in any way. I do not mean to do so. Hope you guys like this video. Remember that Elle's planet is your planet as well. So spread the love and God bless. Goodbye, guys!